Good afternoon, Riverdale School. This is Mr. Paris coming to you again from my mother's dining room with this week's Lunchtime Read Aloud. Now, today's book is called The Invisible Boy. It's by Trudy Ludwig, and it's illustrated by Patrice Barton. I think it's always really important to recognize who the illustrator is, and that is the person, of course, who drew the pictures in the book. It's particularly important this week because we're going to be looking at the pictures as we read the book because it kind of carries the book along. And I want to see if you can notice what happens to the main character, Brian, in the book, especially the drawings of Brian. Now, The Invisible Boy is about a little boy, Brian, who's in school. And unfortunately, he's feeling a little invisible. It kind of starts off a little sad. The first time I read this book, I remember thinking, why am I reading this book? It's terrible. It's making me feel awful for Brian. But as we know, what happens in stories is we have that rising action, we meet our characters, and then at the top, we have like this turning point, right? That something changes in the book, and then we have the falling action. And I promise you, if you can bear with me, through the rising action and through the turning point, there's a little boy, Justin, that Brian is going to meet. But I want you to think about what's happening with Brian through the story. Brian, again, is feeling a little like he's not being noticed. And we're going to learn how eventually he can become noticed and how his classmates help him through that. So here is The Invisible Boy by Trudy Ludwig. Can you see Brian, the invisible boy? Even Mrs. Carlotti has trouble noticing him in her classroom. She's too busy dealing with Nathan and Sophie. And if you look in the book here, there's Brian right there. Notice how he looks different from all of the other drawings and all of the other kids and people on the page. Nathan has problems with what Mrs. Carlotti calls volume control. He uses his outside voice, inside too much. Sophie whines and complains when she doesn't get her way. Nathan and Sophie take up a lot of space. Brian doesn't. When the bell rings for recess, Micah and JT take turns choosing kids for the kickball teams. The best players get picked first. Then the best friends of the best players. Then the friends of the best friends. Only Brian is left, still waiting and hoping. JT glances in Brian's direction and just as quickly looks away. We've got enough players for each team, he tells the others. Let's play ball! That doesn't make me feel so good. In the cafeteria, Madison and her friends talk about her birthday party. The rope swing over the pool was awesome, says JT. Yeah, so was the water slide, adds Fiona. That was the best pool party ever. I'm so glad you guys had fun, says Madison. Everyone did, except Brian. He wasn't invited. And again, look at the way Brian looks as compared to everyone else on that page. At choosing time, while the other kids play board games and read, Brian sits at his table doing what he loves to do best. He draws fire-breathing dragons scaling tall buildings, space aliens locked in intergalactic battles, greedy pirates digging for treasure, and superheroes with the power to make friends wherever they go. On Monday morning, Mrs. Carlotti introduces Justin, a new student to the class. Brian smiles shyly at him. Some of the other kids sneak looks at Justin, trying to figure out if he's cool enough to be their friend. They haven't quite made up their minds yet. And even as I look at Brian, I'm seeing a little bit more color to him. At lunch, Madison and JT watch Justin eat with chopsticks. What's that? asks Madison as she points at Justin's food. It's bulgogi. Bull, what? Bulgogi. It's Korean barbecue beef. My grandma made it for me. It's really good. Do you want to try some? Said Justin. There's no way I'll eat bulgogi. And the kids laughed. All of them, that is, except Brian. He sits there wondering which is worse, being laughed at or feeling invisible. The next day, when Justin goes to his cubby to put away his backpack, he notices a piece of paper with his name on it. Justin, I thought the bulgogi looked good. Brian. I think we're getting almost to that turning point of the story, which is making me feel better. At morning recess, Brian finds a piece of chalk on the ground and starts drawing away. You're Brian, right? Said Justin. Yeah. Thanks for the note. Hey, Justin! Emilio calls out from the tetherball court. You're up next! Sorry, I gotta go, says Justin. By the way, that's a really cool drawing, he adds, before taking off. And again, I want you to look at Brian, and he's changing a little bit. I'm seeing even more color in Brian as he gets compliments from Justin, and as he does nice things for Justin, the new kid. Back in class, Mrs. Carlotti asked the kids to team up in 2s or 3s for a special project. The kids scurry around the room to pair off. Brian heads towards Justin. I'm already with Justin, says Emilio. Find someone else. Brian looks at the floor, wishing he could draw a hole right there to swallow him up. Well, Mrs. Carlotti said we can have up to 3 people in our group, said Justin. We're only 2. Come on, Emilio. Let him work with us. Okay, I guess. Mrs. Carlotti gives the class directions for the project. Your assignment is to work together to write a story about what you see in the photograph. Use your imagination and have fun. Whoa, cool, says Emilio. What kind of people do you think would live in a house like that? I don't know, but I bet Brian could draw them to go with our story, says Justin. Brian smiles as he takes out his lucky pen. Look how much color Brian has in that picture and that smile on his face. Wow, this is all just a picture of everything that Brian and Emilio and Justin did together. And again, look at all of the colors, the project that they did together, them reading their story. It's lunchtime again, Brian's least favorite part of the day. Another 20 long minutes of kids talking and laughing with everyone else but him. Brian! He hears someone shout out. Hey, Brian! Over here! Brian turns and sees Justin waving him over. Emilio nods at Brian as he makes room for him at the table. Whew. Cookie? Says Justin. Thanks, says Brian. Maybe, just maybe, Brian's not so invisible after all. The end. So again, that was The Invisible Boy by Trudy Ludwig, and it was illustrated, I think, really, really well by Patrice Barton. Now, something I want you to all think about, and I have a challenge for you, is this. I want you to think about in your classroom or in your neighborhood or anywhere around where you live, is there an invisible boy or an invisible girl near you? Is maybe they're an invisible family? And maybe they're not invisible, but maybe they're feeling invisible, especially during these times. Maybe they don't have as many people reaching out to them. Maybe they're not getting as many phone calls or emails or postcards or snail mail, anything to make connections, especially during a time that we're all stuck inside. We can't go out and play with our friends. And when we're outside playing with friends, it usually brings along a lot of new opportunities to meet new people. And right now, we don't have that. So I want you to think about, is there someone invisible or a group of invisible people around you that could use a little extra color, reach out to them. And I know it might seem hard. Maybe you could send a letter and you might say, Mr. Paris, I don't have their address. Listen, we have Google, we have all these other things. I was able to very quickly look up a bunch of different things about something I saw on TV the other day that didn't even really matter. And how much does this matter? Learning how to connect with people that you think need that extra connection. So that's your challenge this week. Think about someone that might be feeling invisible and make them feel colorful, make them feel visible. And if you do that and you want to share it with me, I'd love to hear about it. I hope you all have an amazing weekend, an amazing rest of this rainy Friday, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Have a great day.